Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. I hope everyone had a wonderful week, but today is January 8th, and it has been 1 week since I've started my new development game. Still don't have a solid name for it, but perhaps we'll get to that later. For now, as you can probably see from the stream title, we're going to be working on actually picking up items and having them travel through time. I've also been thinking about the actual mechanics of the time travel, and instead of making them just singular buttons, I think it would be better to have a menu pop up for that. So, first of all, we're going to fix that issue. So, first of all, what we need to do is we need to make what's called a canvas. What a canvas is it basically holds all of the menus, all of the just everything you might see on a screen that isn't part of the actual game. So I'm going to add an empty object, call this time travel window, and then underneath we're just going to put a piece of text. This text is just going to say, where would you like to travel? Okay. And then we, of course, need to import some special text files to make the project actually work with Unity. And there we go. So, if we just move this up to the top, and here, if you've ever worked in a Word document or anything, it's very similar to this. We have different alignments, different fonts. You're basically just putting a piece of text in your. You're basically just putting a piece of text on a screen. So. What we want to do is make this just centered on 0, 0 real quick. We also want to center this in the middle. There we go. And then we want to move this just here. Alright, and so now if we go into the game, we will see where we'd like to travel, but we don't want to see that all the time. We only want to see it when we want to time travel. So what we can do is if I open up the code here, give me just 1 second. For some reason it doesn't want to show up. There we go. Okay, so if we just head into the code really quick, here we have our time travel with just the basic E and Q keys. But what we want to do is check this distance again. So then to do that, we need a public game object time travel menu. And then if the distance is if the player is within distance, we want them to show the TT menu. So the time travel menu dot game object dot is dot active dot set active. That's right. Set active true. And then in the start menu, or in the start rather, we just want it to set it false. Okay, so all we have to do now is just set the proper variables, and then we should see that if we're away from the time machine, nothing should show up, but then when we're close to it, it should show up. Okay, so we go into the time machine. We have our TT menu here. We want that to go to there. And so now, we press play. We should see that that text is not there. Perfect. And then when we get close, it is there. But then the problem is, once we get away, there's no way to get rid of that text. So, what we need to do is basically just fit out the rest of this menu. So, we're going to add a few buttons. With our first button here going to be forward, and I'm going to duplicate that, just call it backward. So on here, we just change the text to be forwards, and then the text on here to be backwards. All right, and then if we just move these buttons accordingly, and then again, all this is just test elements. These are just to make a working prototype. We'll work on graphics and making it look good in a later week. So now with these buttons, if we click them in game, they just do nothing. So what we need to do is we need to add an on click here. So on here we need to declare two more functions. Call it void go forward, and then void go backward. Okay, and then what we just do here, we just take our travel forwards code, we just stick it in there, and then our travel backwards code, and stick it in here. And so now, if we save this and we go back to our buttons, okay, go back to our buttons, we add an event. So what we do is we drag on the time machine object, and we choose our time travel script. And here we can see that we have... we need to set them as public variables. So, if these aren't public, then basically no one can see them. There's a few different types of identifiers like this. Private means that only the script and certain other scripts can see it. Public means that everyone can see it. So now that it's public, now it should be set better. Time travel, yes, here we go. So on our forward button, we want our go forward text, or forward function. Then here we just go back to our time machine. Time travel, go backwards. Okay, and so now, if we just play this, we should see that nothing shows up at first. Okay, then once we get closer, we have the option going forwards and backwards. If you press forwards, forwards, backwards, 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 it works just the same as we did Q and E last week. But we still have the problem of moving away doesn't get rid of the screen. So, how we fix that is we just do an opposite. And by the way, we can just get rid of all this here since we don't need it anymore. And so then here, what we can do is we use an if statement last time, but there is a special identifier called else, where in an if-else statement, if this statement is true, if what's in these parentheses is true, then do this. If anything else happens, then ttmenu.gameObject.setActive false. So now what we should see is something happening if my computer would like to load. Okay. So now, once we go back into the project, we should see that nothing happens at first, but then we move forwards to the time machine, and then move away, and it goes away. Move forwards, and away. And then we can still go backwards, and move away, and we can still go forwards, and back away. Now, that's all well and good, but what we want to do is, this could be very easily exploitable. As you might have seen, there was a lot of lag going in between from when the character went forwards into the time machine and then went back outwards. There was just a little bit of lag there. We don't want that. We want a more smooth transition. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another button that just closes out the menu itself. Change the text to be close menu, and we'll have this just, we'll have this just down here. Okay, and so now what we want to do is, yes, okay, so what we want to do is make another public void close menu. And in here we want the TT menu set active false. But then, if we can get rid of this else statement for now, but if we do this, the character can still move around. So what we need to do, we need to go to our movement script and actually make a public bool, which is short for a boolean, which is basically either a 1 or a 0, true or false. Public bool can move. And so in update, we want to check if can move, then do all of this. Alright, so now, if you have a statement in here that's just a single variable, it just checks if it is true. This can't work for any other variable. It's what's checking in here is if it is true. If it was like this, exclamation point, it would be if not true, if false. But no, we want to make sure that if it is true. So now, if we go into here, if the player is by the time machine, then we want the player.getComponent movement .can move equals false. And then once we exit out of the menu, we want to change that to true. Okay, so now, once we go back into our project, what we should see when we boot up the game is that we go to the time machine, we should be able to press the buttons, but not be able to move. So if we just set this up here, so see what happened was that I didn't set it true to begin with. So by default, every boolean is just false. So public bool can move equals true. So now if we go back into the project, it should be all good. These are the little things, again, that you never really see in game development. Most because I am still very much an amateur, and I'm still learning how to do most of this. I did get a degree for this, but I'm still... it's getting everything together that's the learning curve for me. Now, why are you not moving? Okay, probably just need to set that later. Okay, so goes to the time machine. I am pressing WASD. Nothing is happening. I can go forwards and backwards. And then when I close the menu... okay, that's two problems we need to fix. So, when I close the menu, it does in fact close the menu, but the player is still within distance of the time machine. So, what we need to do is something probably very smart. Well, first of all, let's just can move equals true. Okay. So, if within distance, we need to close out the menu. Let me fix this. Well, we could add another Boolean. This one can just be a regular Boolean because no one else needs to see it. Menu closed. Okay. And then if and menu closed. Then menu closed equals true. And menu closed equals false. No, I need to move that around because it needs to check if not menu closed. No, because then it needs to check for the distance as well as getting them to leave when they're out of it. When menu closed is true. We could probably do something like this. Actually, no. Let me get rid of all of this really quick. And instead, Boolean can travel. Okay, so then I'm going to start off by can travel equals true. And only if and can travel. I forget if I said this last week, but these two ampersands are basically an AND operator. So only if this statement and this statement is true, do this. So if it can travel, then set up the menu. And then if the menu closed, then can travel equals false, because they just got out of the menu. And then we need a way to set it back to true. Then yeah, if the distance no, because then that would check for every single time. I think what I might have to do is set an I enumerator. So what an I enumerator does is travel cooldown. What I use it most often for is for timers and such. So if I do yield new or yield return new wait for seconds, let's say 2, then can travel equals true. Okay, once they close the menu, they can no longer travel, so we want to start coroutine travel cooldown. Okay, so now what should happen is that if the player opens up the menu, they show the menu, they can no longer move. And then when they close the menu goes away, they can move again, they can no longer travel, and they have to wait 2 seconds before they can travel again. So now that should fix our issue. So let's see, we go in, should be nothing showing. We go up to the time machine, menu shows up, pressing all directions, can no longer move, go forwards, backwards, backwards, forwards, close the menu. Close the menu. Oh, duh. Maybe setting the on click would help. Right. There we go. So, all those issues before were definitely relevant. We just couldn't see that because of my stupidity in not setting that. Once again, I may be some sort of expert in this, but I am still an amateur in many, many other aspects. So, go to the time machine, menu opens, go backwards, backwards, forwards, forwards, close the menu. We can no longer travel, even if we go close, but now that 2 second timer has run up, so now we can go forwards, forwards, backwards, backwards, close menu. Okay. So now we can work on the item pickups. So to do that, what we first need to do is we need to make just a test item. This item will be able to move throughout the different timelines, but only as time goes forward. So for example, if we have a seed, it will continue to grow, but it can't grow backwards, let's say. Like if you place the seed right here in 2023, it will not appear in 1985 or 1885 because that's just not how time works. So what we need to do is let's just create just a nice little square. Call this test item. Now what this item needs is it needs a new script, and we're going to call this just item. Should be fine. Now what this item needs is it needs a few different things, because this item is going to work for every single item in the game. So every single item needs a new sprite or the way that it looks for every single time period. It also needs to know how old itself is, so it can track to see if additional things happen. For example, if a tree is at age 3, then it is fully grown and can drop an apple and do that event. For right now, we're just going to set the variables and just have them work. So, to start off with, we're going to need public int age, and then public sprite appearances. Okay, so what I've done here is I've made an array of sprites. If I just did this, it would just be a singular sprite. But because I put in these square brackets, we now have an array of appearances of sprites. And what that basically means is that we can put multiple items under that same variable. So if we just check really quick, once my computer loads, then if we just put this item on our test item, then yes, we can see we have a list of items. So what we want to do is we need to check its age. So then we need to get the sprite, so public sprite current appearance, then current appearance, oops. So when we start, current appearance should be appearances 0, because that is the youngest that it can be, and so that's the appearance it should have. So then we need to also update that the current appearance equals appearances age. So what this does is that it takes the number that age is, so say age is 2, and it finds the second object, or well, third object, because arrays work in a computery way of sense. So the way we count as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the computer will count it as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if age is 2, it picks the third item in the list. Hope that makes sense, because that's just how computers work. So we now need to just check and make sure that everything is in order. I won't add the appearances here. I'll make some test sprites off screen and just put them in the game. We can test them out later. But just to make sure, we need to debug.log current appearance is, and then adding on the appearances. Or no, just appearance. Or current. Why did I choose appearance as my variable word? Okay. So we have the age. We know what the current appearance is. Then plus current age is, and then just to make sure that it all lines up. Actually, we need to do this after. Oops. After that. Okay, and so now we need to then determine how to change this object's age. So, well, another thing we need to do is we need to do actual pickups. So then if we just steal the distance really quick. We also need public game, public, if I can type, game object player, and update if between is less than or equal to, let's say, 1. And then if we'll steal this code here. A lot of coding is just stealing from other scripts that you've done, just so you don't have to do a whole lot of the work. Instead of D, we're just going to make it E, just because that's a common collectible key. Then we want to make game object dot transform dot parent equals player. Now what a parent is basically where the object gets its position from. So if I were to parent my character to the time machine, then what would happen is that these if I pair the character to the time machine is the parent to the character, and the character is the child to the time machine. So if I try to move my character, it is in relation to the time machine. So if I do 0, 0, 0, you can see it's right in the middle of that time machine. We want to do that for the item, where the item is actually in front of the player. So if we just do this testing really quick, let's see, where's a good spot? Maybe just, no, 0, 0 is fine. 1.5, 0.2, yeah, that'll work. So now go back. So the parent is there. Then game object dot transform dot position equals new vector 2 1.50 5f. Sorry. Okay, so now if between the player and this item is less than 1 and they press E, then it should parent it to the player and then move it in front of the player. Okay, let's see that in action. Let's just move this test item over a bit. Okay. Oh, I need to set the player itself. Test item, and the player is this. Okay. So if I'm pressing E, nothing happened. That because it's trying to do the appearance code first. So if I just comment that out really quickly, and then move back. Here we go. So now if we try it. Press E. Okay, so not exactly what I wanted, but that is the basics of what I wanted. Oh, not regular position, but local position. That's right. Because position is just position overall. Local position is in relation to the parent. So now if I try this. Now it works perfectly. So now, what we want to do is make a bool is held, then is held equals false, and then is held equals true. So then, if input deca key, then if is held, I'm sorry, if not is held, then do all of this. Else, then the parent equals null. And what null is nothing, basically. And then is held equals false. Okay, so now what should happen is we should be able to pick up and put down these objects. How's everyone's day going, by the way? I don't think I've asked that yet today or last time. Why is it not letting go? Oh, because the distance is 1.5. Okay. How do we fix that? Well, I guess could do it like that. Coding is fun. Through all its ups and downs, this is actually very entertaining. So now, if I press E, I can pick up the item. Ah! It's the same miscommunication that I had last time. If get key down. So this is the same thing as last time. Get key is just whenever it's pressed. Get key down only happens when it is down. So that only fires once, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, pick up the item. We have it picked up, and put it down. Perfect. And so now, yep, we can then take the item through time. And then if we go backwards, that item is now stuck in that time period. Awesome. All right, so that was pretty much all that I wanted to get done today. Let's see, what else can we do with this? Oh, yes. Now that we've successfully made an item, this is basically the base item for every other item in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this folder called prefabs and just drag this test item into there. What a prefab is something that you can repeat many different times over, and they all have the same basic code. So I can make this one, say, a football, and then get another prefab and name that item plant. Well, these are named differently, and they're different objects. In fact, I'll separate them just to differentiate. This is a football, so we're going to make it brown. Okay, and then this is a plant, so we're going to make it green. And that's another cool thing that can happen from... Let's make it yellow. It's another cool thing that can happen with these prefabs. Even though they're from the same object, I can edit their qualities separately, and they'll still function as separate objects. So, if we go into the game here, then if I go and pick up this football, I'm picking up this football. I can place it down, and if I pick up this plant, nothing happens. Why is nothing happening? Oh, because we need to actually set the player in the code. So, prefabs are weird. If you set an object to be in the code like this by just dragging and dropping, it's fine for now. But if you get just a brand new prefab, it doesn't register that. So we need to actually go into the code here and actually find the player. So player equals game object dot find. Oops. Needs to be game object dot find character. What this does is it looks through all the game objects in the scene, and it will find the object that's named character, which is what our character is named. So now, if we go back into our screen, excuse me. Okay. We can pick up this football, and the football is fine. We can pick up this plant, and this plant is fine. Pick it up and place it. We can even go forwards with the plant, and go backwards with a football. Now, another thing that I've realized is you can't really see how much time you have left for the time machine. This might be something that I work on next week, but I definitely want some sort of timer to show you how long a timer to show how long you have until you can travel again. But yeah, I'll probably make that either a bar on the machine itself or just a regular timer. We'll see how that functions. But another thing that I have thought of is how does it handle multiple objects? Pick up this football. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. Although, I may have just saved myself because I can swap out the items. Unless you do something like that and they become one. Okay. So, let's fix that really quick. How do we fix that? If we only have them ever hold one item, then we can just check if they're holding an item. If they press keycode, then if player.transform.child count is less than 1, then we do all this. Actually, no, we'll just do equals 0. And then otherwise, just do nothing. Okay, so what this does is that this counts how many children the player has. So if it has one child, then it is obviously holding something and cannot hold something else. But if it has no children, then it is not holding anything. Then we can do the rest of the code that we did before. So let's test that out and see how that works. So what should happen is that we pick up the football, but we should not be able to pick up the flower, or the plant, rather. Yep, I'm pressing E, nothing is happening, so then I put down the foot, because it's then checking itself. Okay. If child count 0, because we can't ever put it down, because now the child count is 1, and then this never fires. Or player.transform.getChild0, which should be the only child it has, equals this dot game object. Okay, so either, and this is similar to the and before, the double straight bars, but this is an or operator. So either this or this needs to be true for all this to happen. So either if it's holding nothing or it's holding this, then do this. So now it should function properly. Okay, so we pick up the football, put down the football. Football is not coming down. Why is football not coming Next, outside of the bounds of the array. Line 16. Oh, okay. We just do that really quick. And why is it not putting it down? This E. Child count is 0 or get child. Did I do the wrong? No, I did the right thing. If the player is holding nothing, if the player is holding nothing, or the player is holding this. Let me just debug.log player.transform.getChild 0.name. So we should be able to check and see if it's actually detecting the correct thing. Give it some time. Okay, so let's reset. Okay, so right now there are no children. So if we press E, we can no longer pick it up. Why is that? 26. Oh, because it doesn't have a child, so it can't do that. Okay. So let's put that at the bottom here so it fires last. Okay, pick up the football is there. Okay, and it's not putting it down. So it recognizes that the child is the football, but it's not recognizing that it should put it down, that it's not itself. Game object? Is it as simple as that? It very well might be. Okay, okay. Pick it up. Put it down. Okay, that's all it was. Pick it up. Can't pick up something else. Ah, okay, yeah. So it's picking up this, putting it down, and picking up the other one. Perfect. Okay. All right, that saved me a bit of a headache for the future. And now we have items that can be picked up and travel through time. Perfect. So, I believe that's where I'm going to end it for today. We got a few things done today. We got an actual time travel menu set up, so we didn't have to use hard-coded keys or anything. We also got pickup items, and we've also fixed a few bugs with those pickup items. Next time, what we're going to do is we're going to work on actually getting those sprites enabled, getting their appearances set up, get these lists all filled out, and make sure their ages correspond to their appearances. All right, but with that, thank you all so much for coming along, either if you were here live or if you're watching the VOD or watching whatever YouTube video I make of this. Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it, and it's really helping me not procrastinate as much on this project that I've wanted to do for a few months. So please do have a good rest of your day, and don't forget to keep thinking of new ways to do simple things, because Lord knows I've done very complicated ways to do the very simplest of things. So, goodbye, and good night.